So today's the topic of today's luncheon is the future of transportation in Southwest Florida. And here to present is L.K. Nandam, who is the Secretary of FDOT for District 1. L.K. He has over 28 years of experience in the transportation industry in both private and public sector. He has a bachelor's of science in civil engineering from Ankara University, and a master's in science of transportation engineering from Wayne State University. Prior to becoming the district secretary, he has previously served as the assistant secretary for strategic development, director of operations, and district traffic operations engineer prior to his FDOT career. He was a traffic operations engineer with the city of Boca Raton and senior transportation engineer with a private sector engineering firm. He is a registered professional engineer in the state of Florida. He is a statewide pedestrian bicycle coalition safety champion, and he is passionate about safety and making a difference for our communities. Please welcome Mr. Nandam.
All right, I can talk without a presentation. I'm known to talk a lot, so hey, afternoon, we are past 4 o'clock, right? So glad to be here, and I've never thought I would come and talk to real estate folks. I've been to chambers and talked to the chambers before, but this is my first time talking to real estate folks. So my name, like Josh said, is L.K. Nandam. I go by L.K. because my first name is A. Long. So initials from when I was a child, I've grown up knowing as L.K., right? So I've been with the department for 20 years. Back in November, 20 years with the department, and then 8 years in this role. I really enjoy this role because it's a way to make a difference for our communities. And communities are at the center of the heart of the department. And if you look at the compass that was developed for the department, communities is at the center, at the core. And as I go through the presentation, you'll see why we put communities at the core, okay? Now, I was talking to my wife, and I said, hey, I'm going to Fort Myers, and she said, where are you going? What are you doing? And I said, I'm going to talk to the real estate professionals. In our house, we've been about 20 years currently in our house, and she's starting to get the itch to get a new property, or a new house. So we started looking, and she said, hey, can you get some advice from these folks, right? You're going down there? And I said, I don't think so, honey, it doesn't work that way. And I was talking to Phil, and Phil said there are attorneys in this group, so I got to be very careful, okay? And then I was thinking about the presentation and what I should be covering. And I can't make things up because we got engineers here too. So I'm at a tough place here, so I'm going to try to navigate the best I can to tell the story of what are the great things that we are doing in Lee County. First of all, I want to say thank you to Lee County Commissioners and City of Fort Myers, Councilman folks is here somewhere, and Representative Monica. She has been a great supporter for us. We are grateful for the legislature and the support that we get from our legislature, and the partnership we have from Lee County and City of Fort Myers and our communities, all the communities here, because without the partnership from our communities, we cannot do the things that we are trying to do, right? So thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so I don't have any more stories to tell. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover some portions of the presentation that I could actually go through without the slides, okay? So one of the things that I was going to cover is how we go through our budget process, right? So this past year, the department had a record budget approval from our legislature. Like I said, they support infrastructure because they realize how important infrastructure is for our communities. So we got about $65.8 billion over the next 5 years. That's a record budget, and 15 billion of that is in this current fiscal year that we are in, right? So that's a lot of money that comes to the department. That's not enough to make and meet the demands of the infrastructure because of the growth that we are seeing here, right? So when we build our budget, one of the things that we do is, under the direction of the legislature, safety comes as a top priority. Everything that we do, every project that we deliver, every product that we deliver, safety is incorporated as a top priority, right? And then, legislature directed us that we need to preserve our infrastructure. So that means the pavement that we drive on, the sidewalks that we walk on, the bridges that we drive on, they gotta be in a premium condition. So we allocate money for maintenance, preservation first, right? So safety priority and then preservation is the next. And then there's several statutorily mandated programs, including transit and modal investments into our airports, seaports, rail, all that stuff. So we take money off the top from the revenues that we get, and then what is left is used for capacity improvements. Our resurfacing program has grown tremendously over the past few years. The number of lane miles that we need to resurface has doubled, quadrupled in certain areas of the state. In District 1 itself, right, 4 years ago, we were resurfacing about 200 lane miles. Right now, our program includes about 400 lane miles. 400, that's twice the amount. So what happens is because preservation is at the top, all the money that we get at the district level goes to preservation, right? So the amount of capacity money, the money that we get for capacity, is available through the statewide programs and special funding programs that the legislature provides, like the new Florida Forward program. So, okay, all right, that's another story. I'm done. There we go. All right, so I've already covered like 3-4 slides in here, right? So, talking about our communities, right? We are part of our communities, and how we serve our communities is important, right? 2 years ago, when Hurricane Ian hit Lee County, I say, it was going to go up north, going towards Tampa Bay area, and then it took a right turn. In my mind, it's a wrong turn, right? Coming and hitting our district, Lee County, straight head up, right? Our island communities were devastated. So, when the island communities were devastated, there was no access to the communities. Sanibel Causeway was damaged, right? Pine Island, Matlacha was completely wiped out. And then, the access from the south going to Fort Myers Beach, that got damaged. Governor DeSantis came in and challenged us, the department, to restore access to the islands. I want to thank Lee County for trusting us to come in and do that for them, right? I'm very, very proud of my team that we restored access to Pine Island in 2.5 days. We restored access to Sanibel Island in 15 days. 15 days ahead of schedule. And restored access to the connection between Bonita Springs and Fort Myers Beach in 2 days. Okay. It was a great partnership. I was just talking to Commissioner Malika about it, and it was a great partnership between Lee County, City of Sanibel, and the department to make that particular connection happen, because we had to work together, hand in hand, to make it happen, right? Very proud. So every community, when they actually go through this tough times like this, right, they come up with some kind of a message, right? So Pine Island came up with this with this graphic saying Pine Island Strong as they're building, right, rebuilding. And Sanibel, because their lighthouse got destroyed, they created this coin, and it says shine on Sanibel, right? And then we, at the department, to recognize the folks who actually helped restore the access, we created a recognition program with coins and patches. So we recognized all the people who were contributing towards the project, right? So I got a 2-minute video that I want to show because it tells a great story before we get into my presentation. That's okay, we'll skip the video, we'll send the presentation, right? Yeah. We'll send a copy of the presentation to you guys, okay, so you can listen to what we trusted. It's amazing how quick we forget the extent of damage that we went through, right? So that's why memories like this are very important to think about, all the things that we went through as a community and the things that we had to do to get back to normal, right? So this is what we call telling our story. So 5 days into restoration project, we actually filled, with tons of trucks, right? And made it stable enough that utility trucks and emergency response vehicles could go across to get the sample in 5 days. We've done that in 5 days. That was like 24/7 work, right? So the engineering folks, the contractor, my folks, the county, all of us worked together to make it happen in 5 days. I was actually sitting in the side by side when the governor was doing his press conference. The timing was perfect. I was sitting in the side by side with my team, and I was leading the convoy. And when we crossed across, getting to Sanibel, right? The reception that we got, it's an experience of a lifetime. I can't tell how great it felt that we did that, right? I was our project manager who worked on the project. That's the utility convoy. Oh, that was me, right there. That was me talking about that. Let's get it. So, what I'm going to do in the next 20 minutes is how much time do I have? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a little bit about my district, and then I already covered these 5 budgets, and we're not going to go into that, but I'm going to go through some key projects that we've been working on, what I call investments in Southwest Florida, and then talk about a important point that you guys need to hear about, which is what revenue we get and the resource gap, right, to make investments happen in the community. And then I'm gonna talk about federal policies and funding, and get into emergency hurricane relief efforts if we have time, right, so another video with some words, okay? So, our district is 12 counties. It's pretty large. Starts in Polk County, goes all the way down to Okeechobee County, starts in Manatee, goes all the way down to Collier. So it's very diverse. We got the coastal communities, we got the growing urban area, we got the growing areas, transitioning areas, and then we got the rural areas, right? So there are a variety of challenges that we need to address. The population is about 3.1 million now. In the last 10 years, we had about 500,000 people move in. That's about 140 residents per day moving in. And we project the same for the next 10 years. Congestion on our facilities has grown about 25%. More people, more congestion, right? And our airports are an asset to our communities. Southwest Florida International Airport is one of the 50th busiest airports in the nation. It's been growing so fast that it's become one of the fastest growing airports in the state. Okay? So that's a great asset to have. All right, so I already talked about the start budget. I'm going to talk about going into District 1, of the 65 billion, we get 7 billion of that money, and we have about $1.8 billion of capacity improvements that we are delivering over the next 5 years. And majority of it was from moving Florida Forward program that was approved by our legislature. Because remember, last year, or the year before, they gave us about $4 billion from the surplus that we got, right? We leveraged that and financed it to make it about a little over $6 billion and developed a program to address congestion hotspots around the state. In our district, in Central Florida and Southwest Florida, we got about $1.8 billion worth of projects, okay? Of which Southwest Florida area got close to about over 700 million allocation for projects in this area, okay? Talk about Southwest Florida International Airport, fastest growing, right? So they're working on a terminal expansion. We partnered, we provided funding towards that project. We also provided funding towards the air traffic control tower to improve safety and efficiency of operations, and also provided money for landside treatment rehab for Chamberlain Parkway. So these are several investments that we partnered with our airport to make our airport successful, because they are a big asset to our community. All right, so going into investments, I-75 Colonial Boulevard, I'm sure you all are wondering, when is it going to be done, right? So that was one project where we had a timeline, we got delayed, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a great asset. So that project is going to be complete within the next couple of months. Diverging diamond interchange, innovative concept, and then a continuous flow intersection at the intersection of Tree Line, and then a super street or ARPA treatment at 4 and Boulevard. So it's going to be a great project once it's completed. Caloosahatchee River Bridge pedestrian improvements. You know, one of the things is the MGO directed us as a top priority to put in a sidewalk to connect downtown Fort Myers to Fort Myers. We got that funding through the ARPA funding and made the project a reality. It's a design build project. Originally, to minimize the impacts, it was supposed to be a 3-year project, but we were allowing the contractor to work only during the off-peak season because of the impacts of the community. And then we asked the contractor to come up with a innovative concept, and they came back and said, if you allow us to close the bridge for 10 weeks, when the school closes to when the school opens, we're going to make it happen by December. In 3 days, fingers crossed, they will be done with the project. So we finished our project a year and a half ahead of schedule because of the community being okay for closing 10 weeks the bridge. So We really want to thank support from Lee County and City of Fort Myers for allowing us to do that, and to the community for taking on that pain for 10 weeks. Okay? All right, so this is a safety project on Business 41, adding medians to improve safety. It's going to start construction next year. 31 and 80 and the Wilson Piggott Bridge. So the bridge is structurally deficient, we need to replace the bridge. And then Babcock Branch and the growth in the area the traffic is increasing so much that we have to rebuild and widen State Road 31 and redo the intersection. So we're creating an innovative treatment at that intersection. In addition, replacing the bridge with a fixed span bridge, widening the bridge to add capacity. So this project is about $200 million, and it's programmed in 2029. Right now, we're in conversations about, is there an opportunity to finance and bring the project in because of the increased demand in that area. So, all right, Daniels Parkway interchange, it's going to be another DEI. That project is going to go into construction next year. I think it's a design build project, so it may be a little bit more later than that. So I'm going to get into moving Florida forward. One of the projects that we got funding through the program is widening of I-75 from Corkscrew all the way down to Golden Gate Parkway. That's about $700 million project. So what we've done is, based on industry feedback, we broke this project into multiple segments, added Immokalee interchange because Collier County wanted us to look at that, rebuilding that interchange, and then over the next 5 years, from 2027 to 2031, we're going to be widening I-75 to 8 lanes in that area. And then Pine Ridge interchange, we just awarded the contract, another DEI in Collier County. And then State Road 29, because of the growth around the Immokalee area in eastern Collier County, widening State Road 29 from 3 to 4 lanes, and then building a loop around the Immokalee interchange. So that's another project. So 4 years ago, we started the journey to do a master plan study on I-75 and I-4 in our district to identify what exactly needs to be done on I-75 in Sarasota, Manatee, Lee, and Collier counties. So the recommendations that came out was express lanes are managed lanes, which means these lanes are going to be separated by barrier for those folks who want to travel through the area or through multiple interchanges. And then the general purpose lanes, which is the local lanes that actually serves the local public, right? So for Lee County, the recommendation is to from south of State Road 78 to Corkscrew, the recommendation is to do the separated express lanes or managed lanes. And then from Corkscrew down to State Road 951, addition of one additional general purpose lane, which is already funded through the Moving Florida Forward program. Now, talked about $65.8 billion, right? The resource and revenue challenge is where our challenge is. You look at our planning process, right? The commissioner talked about being part of the MPO, and we have a solid planning process. We know exactly what improvements, what time, when they need to happen. The challenge is the resources that we get, right? So the $65.8 billion, if you look at the green line, right? That's the projects program over the next 5 years. The red line is what we need to make investments a reality in our state. That's close to $200 billion. That's the funding gap that we have. So the more investments that we get, the more resources that we get, the more we can make things happen. Because we can make things happen because we know where the needs are and we can go after them. We need more resources. That's the reason why we wanted to show this slide. All right, so federal allocations are about 25% of our state transportation allocations, right? When IIJA, which was the last reauthorization from the US government, from the federal government, when that came through, it was a record investment. Okay? Everybody was excited about it. We got about 30% more in money from federal allocations. But inflation over the last 2-3 years caused the prices of delivering the project go up by 35%. So the money that we got, increase in money, went towards handling the price increases for inflation, right? One of the big things that we think is a big flaw in the last reauthorization was they put majority of the money into grant programs. That means you apply as an agency, they review the grant application, and then they allocate money for your project, right? So, state of Florida got out of $165 billion that was allocated to discretionary programs, state of Florida got $250 million. As the third largest state in the country, it's not like we don't have good projects. It's not like we get applied for projects. We got $250 million. So there's a big time inefficiency in how discretionary programs are handled because I'm going to give you one example, right? See, if a project is $100 million, okay? You as an agency decide to apply for the project, it's 80-20 match. So I gotta take $20 million and set it aside. And when I put in the application, right, that's the getting money. That process takes about 18 months. So I'm holding on to this $20 million, not using for 18 months, and I don't know if I'm getting the project, which we know we have not got any projects. And then, if you are lucky enough to get the project, right, it takes another 18 months to get the grant agreement executed. So I lost 36 months of $20 million that I could use somewhere else, right? And on top of it, as a third largest state in the country, we didn't get as much allocation, right? On top of it, they have not been efficient in spending that money because they haven't given out as many grants. So we know that this is not an efficient way of going about it. Formula allocations is the way to go about it because formula allocations is dependent on or is based on how we spend the formula allocations based on the planning process that we already have in place. It's a bottoms-up planning process, right? So communities tell what their priorities are. We go through the planning process, MPOs prioritize them, we take the formula allocations and we program projects, right? That's already a proven way of delivering infrastructure projects. And on top of it, formula allocation is based on how much gas is being pumped. We know in Florida we got enough gas being pumped, right? How many national highway miles you got? We have tons of national highway miles, right? And then population, the third largest, right? So, we get a good share if money is put into the right pocket, right? Instead of putting all the money into discretionary programs, which somebody has to make a decision based on an application that comes through the process, which has proven to be inefficient. So, 2026 is the next reauthorization. We are making a case that maintain the same funding, but get rid of all the discretionary programs. Maybe one or two, few programs to actually evolve for certain communities, but don't put the majority of it, right? Put most of it into formula programs because it's already proven, it's the way to do it. We've shown that it's the most efficient way of doing business, right? So, you guys are leaders in the community. You need to start having conversations for your infrastructure, for your transportation, to let your federal delegation know that don't go discretionary programs, please. Please go with formula applications, okay? That's what we are doing. Okay, 1 minute. Okay. All right, so 2 years later, Hurricane Helene hits, Hurricane Debbie hits, and then Hurricane Milton hits, right? Hurricane Helene, it passed us by 100 miles away from the coast, right? But who knew that it's going to shove all the sand into city of Bradenton Beach, Anna Maria Island, and Holmes Beach? We never knew that we were going to have that challenge, and we were out there moving sand. So it damaged Gulf of Mexico Drive, and putting about 4 to 6 foot sand on the island. The governor gave us a challenge to open the roadway in 5 days, and we moved about 41,000 cubic yards of sand in 2 days. In 2 days. That's equal to about 3,000 trucks. Moving sand from the road, from the properties, from the side streets to Coquina Beach Park, and Manatee County partnered with us, and they're going to process the sand and put it back on the beach. Okay? This is not, the sand on the beach is fine, it's the sand from the shelf that came out because of the surge. They had about 6 foot surge. It's very interesting because, we didn't have that when we had that surge in Sanibel, right? Here we have that. It's amazing. So I want to say thanks to my team for working 24/7, not 24 hours in 2 days, and making the impossible happen. So I had a video, but we're gonna see the video. Okay. You guys get to see it. So when the governor announced that we opened the roadway and moved all the sand, right? There was a process. And some guy made up this graphic, put it on Twitter, and I call it Spike the Football. Right? So he had it on 3 days, Fine Island, 15 days, 14 days Sanibel, and then 2 days Gulf of Mexico. And the comment is, you gotta have FDOT go into the astronauts, because we would have had them home for lunch. On the weekend. Yeah. So that is what we are about. We are about making things happen for our communities. With the resources we've got, and do everything we can to make our communities better. So with that, thank you. And sorry, I called you Phil before we started. I think there's time for questions.
Anybody have any questions? Nobody? I actually have a question. With all the road programs and tons of construction going on, the integration of technology as it evolves into our transportation system, what's the FDOT doing to meet that initiative? I know there are electric vehicles and various other methods. So.
That's a great question, Josh. So we got we are big time into incorporating emerging technologies into our business, right? So we partner with our local agencies to install what we call advanced traffic management systems, which have that communication back to the traffic signals from the traffic management center. And DCOM does a great job of traffic management. We're one of our premier agencies doing that. Part of the technology is getting ready for the future, right? So we are upgrading each of our signal cabinets to incorporate connected vehicle technologies. In fact, we have a technology project on 41, which is called a frame project, which incorporates, don't ask me what frame is, my folks love acronyms. So it's meant to be something about technology, I can say that. But we're incorporating active pedestrian detection technology, but also installing connected vehicle technology so that the signal cabinets can talk to the vehicles when that particular technology is in the vehicles, so that we can make active decisions, right? On the free days, you see all these dynamic message signs and cameras, right? So we make active decisions on incident management, incident detection, using that from our traffic management center at the Daniels Wisteria. So if you guys want a tour of that PMC, let me know, we'll make it happen. It's a great asset that we have. So on top of it, we have SunTrax facility in Polk County. That particular facility is built to partner with all the vendors who are working on this emerging technology test real time in that particular facility, so that before it gets down to the facilities, we can get tested. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I got one. With the growth that's happening in Lake County, estate up there, where it's just I-4. Lee County has, what, 50 miles of interstate, whatever 75 is, and that's it. Is there any plans at all to create more interstates like Orlando did, even though they're toll roads, to move people around in Lee County? Because there's certain areas in this county you cannot drive anywhere without it taking an hour to get to.
It's a great question. I don't know if you guys heard the question. Orlando back when not having interstates, toll facilities, but as Orlando grew, they created this interstate system, a toll system, right? To accommodate traffic growth. Obviously that is part of the planning process, right? And it's the community who decides, how do they want to grow, what type of transportation facilities they would like to have, and what is the type of multimodal, system that they would want to create to accommodate the growth, right? So, right now, as part of your long-range transportation plan, there are no toll facilities other than I-75, right? But, there are several surface facilities that the county is pursuing, and then we have been looking at. So you got Corkscrew, you got Alico Extension, we're improving Cleo's Parkway, you got Daniels Parkway, right, and we're looking at, obviously the express lanes on I-75. So the demand that you have to what you need as a network is already being incorporated into your long-range transportation plan system. So that particular model is not showing the need for, additional interstate type facilities, right, or limited access facilities. However, one challenge that we have, and we've been having conversations with Lee County and Collier County and the local communities and the MPO, is going south of Bonita Springs, right? You do not have any network really to support the growth that's going on, other than the extension of improvements to Alico and Corkscrew. So Lee County MPO is just starting a planning study to look at what eastern, roadways are needed to accommodate the growth there. And I think that's the first step to a great analysis that needs to be done. Once that study is done, it can define, what are those facilities that are needed, and then it gets built into the planning process and infrastructure improvement process. Okay.
Oh, one more. Oh.
You mentioned intermodal transportation. Can you speak at all on the future of high-speed rail coming to maybe Southwest Florida?
Unfortunately, Southwest Florida is not on the map for high-speed rail. And I'll tell you why. So we've done, not here in the district, but statewide, right? There was a rail system study that was done, which looked at freight and passenger rail, and they identified connections between different various communities, right? And identified, kind of like ranked them by tiers. So the Miami to Orlando, Orlando to Jacksonville, Orlando to Tampa, they're all in the tier one. And then the tier twos are, other communities, and then Lee County's connection from Sarasota, Tampa to Sarasota to Fort Myers is in tier 3. So it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but it's not in the top priority.
Not in your lifetime.
How far out of those express lanes can you build those in 2 weeks?
So I don't know if you saw the slide. There was one slide about Colonial interchange. It actually said, there was a mistake in that slide. It said start in December 2024 and then complete in 25, early 25. Did you guys see that? Yeah. I wish it was that pace, Commissioner. but the cost, right, for the express lanes, for all of the improvements of I-75, we did a planning level estimate, and it's about $8 billion. That's what you need to make improvements happen on I-75. That doesn't mean that we cannot make it happen. It's the resources that you get and the pace at which you go. So.
Those two express lanes you just mentioned are $8 million.
all the way from Manatee down to Collier. Think about 18 miles from Corkscrew going down to, Golden Gate, right? That is just regular, just adding additional lane, 2 lanes. That's costing about $700 million. Anybody else?
I was just curious, when is that slated to begin?
So the question is, when is the widening of I-75 slated to begin? It's slated to begin in 27. So we're currently in design. So the first part of that project is going to be the Immokalee interchange reconstruction and widening of Immokalee from Immokalee to Bonita Beach Road. And then, the other segments follow right after that. There's a number of studies that have been done, to show that the diverging down interchanges are not only more efficient and more safe. We can pull those stats and provide you guys. I don't know if it is on the website, but there's a lot of studies done nationwide which show that the DDIs are a lot efficient. So.
Comment on design and interchanges, my kids told me to put Waze, the app, like it was coming down Hanson, fully intended to go down to NLK to get to the interstate. It actually directed me back to Columbia Mall. Design interchange, and it did that twice, and it worked like a chalk. I mean, that diamond.
Yeah. Yep. We get a lot of those reactions after those projects are done.
I just wanted to mention that Mr. Nandam is allowing REIS to post his presentation on the REIS website, so I'll get that done later today. If you want to go back and look at some of those slides and add information, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and you get to check out, when you do it, you get to check out our brand new website and all the functionality. So, just want to thank LK for being here, his willingness. He came all the way down. He came from Tampa today and to do this and give this presentation. So, wonderful presentation, a lot of information. Very great team. You guys have done a ton of work in very short time. And we thank you as a community, but also want to thank you as a group.